Mullinger's Weekly Ramble.
Hello, my friends. It is Wednesday, the 29th of April, 2026, which of course means it is time for episode 80, if you can believe it, of Mullinger's Weekly Ramble. Yes, this podcast is 80 years old, which means it is now old enough to be an American president. But let's not go into American politics just yet, or staged assassinations, or Oscar-winning performances, or actually Razzie. Razzle's the British cultural magazine. 3 British listeners will appreciate that one. Hi, Ethan, Kyla, Tim. Okay. I say it's 2020. It's 29. It's actually, I'm recording this the day before because when you're listening to this, i.e. the day that the episode goes live, i.e. Wednesday, the 29th, today for you, tomorrow for me, it doesn't matter. The point is, I'll be hot-footing it to Bathurst for a corporate gig. I know you're thinking, yes, James, but didn't you just get back from Winnipeg like 12 hours ago? Yes, I did. I got in at midnight this morning. From Winnipeg, a long and lovely day's traveling, I would say. Met up with a lot of fellow St. Johners at Toronto Airport. I've been working for years now on a bit that isn't quite right, but essentially I'm trying to work on a bit about how when, I guess only people who live in New Brunswick will get this. But that's all your jokes, James. That pretty much sums up your entire act about the fact that, and again, the gate for this particular flight wasn't at that kind of. Now they're using bigger planes. Anyway, the point is, you know the kind of the New Brunswick or Maritimes end of the airport at Toronto Pearson. How you go down the escalator. And the bit that I'm trying to work on is about this idea when you're away on holiday, wherever you are, whether you're in Mexico or you're spending a week in Toronto or Montreal, you're away from the small town that we all live in, the place that we all know everyone, and we all know each other. When you're away, you can kind of basically live anonymously. Now, it's not that you discontinue being a nice person, but it is somewhat refreshing when you're away to not need to say hello to absolutely everyone and nod and smile at every single person you see. And we love doing that when we're home, but when you're on holiday, it's nice to have the escape from it. So for years, I've been working on this bit idea of how you're kind of walking through the airport, Pearson, after 2 weeks away, completely anonymous. You're walking on completely anonymous, and then you get onto that escalator, and it's almost like a end of The Usual Suspects, Kaiser Sose moment, where you are a completely anonymous entity, and then you go down the escalator, and then suddenly, boom, everyone you know from St. John / Moncton / Fredericton / Sussex is there, all congregated together. And I want to kind of create, I think this would be a fun sketch to do, create this kind of visual of everyone, you get down the escalator and everyone's there kind of like, playing fiddles and making homemade wine and, I don't know, whatever, insert list of New Brunswick stereotypes that people, I don't know, driving around in 4-wheelers, like basically just create this kind of, I thought always that'd be a funny sketch. I've tried doing it in stand-up and it kind of works. It worked very well at the gates yesterday with the dozen people I was chatting with. It was quite funny. So basically, I was coming back from Winnipeg. So we'll go into the past week. We'll talk about other things that have been going on. Obviously, many things have been going on. There was a story I actually forgot. I was having so much fun with you all last week on the podcast. I actually forgot to tell you the story of me almost choking to death on steak the week before. So this week we'll talk about assassinations. We'll talk about Hulk Hogan. We'll talk about the Winnipeg Comedy Festival. We will talk about. That's probably enough. Is that enough? The debaters. Well, let's just get rambling, shall we, my friends? And I hope you've all had a wonderful week. Mine has been absolutely manic. I believe last week when I spoke to you, I was both excited and apprehensive about hitting the Winnipeg Comedy Festival that I had spent many years applying for, many years of kind of wanting to do it, had somewhat kind of given up hope of that ever happening, and then boom, get booked to do a big prestigious televised gala. The theme of the gala was New to Town. It was hosted by the absolute, powerhouse that is Dave Mahedge. Martha Chavez was the closer, and it was back to back, just incredible acts. Some of whom I've met before, some of whom I have never met before, and really it was just one of those extremely exciting, thrilling 4 days. So the Thursday night, I got up at 5 a.m. Well, no, I didn't get up at 5. I got up at 3:45 a.m. last Thursday to get to the airport, to get on the 5 a.m. flight to Toronto, connected to go to Winnipeg, and had a show that night. The show was for a incredible charity called Kid Think, which was created and founded by this amazing woman who I met called Carmen, whose son, who was an absolute gem, and I got to share the stage with him. He had mental health struggles, and she realized that there wasn't the help, or rather the help that is out there for children with mental health problems is obviously, as you know, massive waiting lists. So she created this charity. I think was designed to help. Anyway, help children quickly, which is, of course, when it comes to mental health, these things need to be handled quickly. They were doing it at the Yuk Yuks. So again, some of the other acts that I was doing the New to Town Gala with were on. The amazing Megan Riley was the MC, and she was absolutely delightful and hilarious. And I was very aware, obviously, I'm tired, but also desperately wanting to do well. I was doing a full-length headline set, but obviously within it was doing my 10 minutes ahead of the gala the following night. Oh, and Derek Sagan, I think, pointed out to me that I may be the only comedian in history to have done Yuk Yuk's Winnipeg and Rumours Winnipeg, both headline sets, in the space of 1 week. So, you can't win everything in life, but whenever you can get a little. So the crowd were great. The crowd were completely, up for it. Did my set, and then Madden, Carmen's son, joined me on stage, and he too has extreme ADHD, so we riffed off each other incredibly. I mean, this guy's a teenager and absolutely hilarious. Has presumably done public speaking before, but as far as I'm aware, isn't a stand-up. I hasn't done stand-up before, and he was absolutely hilarious. And we were basically getting charitable pledges from the audience, riffing off each other, and it was so much fun. After the show, did I go back? I did go. There's obviously parties every night at the festival, and it just. I will just say, the amazing thing about this festival is arriving and just being. Everything's so meticulous. You arrive and it's like you get given the schedule, and there's a driver picking you up for every single time, every single rehearsal, every single detail is just so meticulously planned. It was, and I meticulously planned my, touring schedule, which of course means I'm responsible for everything. It was so just refreshing and exhilarating to be in a scenario where someone else is taking care of things, and I'm not having to worry about everything. I'm at one point there was so the following day was the big gala show. So there's a rehearsal at 1:30, and it's all tiered. And I mean, this is like the most insane, well-oiled machine. There's 2 galas back to back. Each one has 5-6 performers on it. You're going in. You're doing a walkthrough onto the stage. They're seeing the cameras, the directors. There's makeup artists. There's hairstylists. There's a wardrobe stylist. So you're taking alternative clothes. They're pressing the clothes for you. And there was this point on the Friday evening when I was getting ready to go out, where I was like, "Oh, I need to press my suit," and I'm like, "Oh no, I don't. The suit is already there at the venue with someone who's pressing it for me." I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, this will never happen to me again. So I made sure I enjoyed it, and that's one of the really fascinating and beautiful things about the way that Dean and Helene and everyone at the festival, and indeed everyone at Frantic Films, who is the production company who films the galas for CBC Television, they all really hammered home the fact that you should enjoy this. Like we want you to enjoy it. You're here because you should be here, and but here's the thing. So my point was that in my Thursday night Yuk Yuk set, the 10 minutes that I was doing in the gala show, I would say did the least of the, it wasn't it was a great set, but I would say that the laughs were lower on that 10 minutes. So I wake up, I would say, I don't know, 6 a.m. on the morning of the gala show, somewhat freaking out, like looking at so the way it works, as I may have explained before, is they put the themes out, you write material, or maybe you've already got material that's relevant to this, you film it, you send it to them, it goes through a huge committee of people, and whether you get picked or not isn't necessarily testament to whether it's good or bad. I mean, obviously it needs to be good, but I guess my point is that if you don't get the gig, it doesn't mean that you've done something bad. It's all about flow and what complements each other, etc., etc. Anyway, so you send in your act. Then once you get, I remember I was in Fredericton doing the Horizon shows for Horizon Healthcare in January when I got the message saying it was happening, that I've been selected. And then of course you have to type up the set, and then maybe CBC or the production company will come back with suggestions. Can you change this? I mean, minor things. One being, for example, in one of my jokes, I mentioned CBC, and they just say, "Can you change that to a local radio channel?" Just, I think they didn't want it to appear self-serving. Anyway, of course, as with any big show, I wake up Friday morning absolutely questioning every single bit of my act, and I thank God I didn't do this. I was this close to writing, to having having sent this video in like 10 months ago, got selected, transcribed it, edited it, got it perfect, had it approved by the production committee. I was having such a panic attack that I almost emailed Dean, the director of programming, the creative director of the festival, who interestingly is also a highly respected, much admired, much loved, accomplished stand-up comedian in his own right, which is definitely why he's so amazing at this job, and why he's so amazing at putting you at ease and supporting you, because he knows what this is like. And not to say that other festival programmers and directors don't know what they're doing, because they do, and I'm not disparaging any others, but there's a reason why Winnipeg is known as the most fun festival, the best festival. It's also, I have to say, in case you didn't know, it's the biggest Canadian festival, and again, this isn't to disparage the Just for Laughs or the Great Outdoors, but they exist, primarily for, American comedians, or even, dare I say it, British comedians. Winnipeg is exclusively Canadian, in the respect that I think you can be a permanent resident, I believe, although I'm not sure. Yeah, I think because I must have first applied like 12 years ago, and I think was told, no, you're not a permanent resident, you're not Canadian. That's how long I've been trying to get in. But anyway, I'm basically questioning my entire act, which is of course ludicrous, because the act in question is 3 routines, which anyone that's seen me locally will be very familiar with, but of course no one nationally knows. Old jokes kind of reworked into this package. I mean, the 3 bits that they chose were the whole thing about moving from a city of 9 million to a town of 10,000, the St. John welcome of why the hell did you move here, not to give away the whole act, homemade wine, maritime directions, and then the 50 chickens stolen bit, the thing on like Canadian crime. And I was genuine, and I'm so glad I didn't do this, because this would have been such bad form. I very nearly emailed Dean on the day saying, can I change my act? I mean, I was really having second thoughts about it. Anyway, you get to the venue, and again, it's just unbelievable. There's so much going on. I mean, cameras everywhere, and of course, I'm absolutely terrified. But I'm reminding myself, I do my best work when I'm having fun. Like that old cliche, nerves are not your friend. Dean and the directors and everyone else involved, everyone at Frantic Films, they were all really, really just kind, I guess, based on the fact that we're not there auditioning. We're there because they wanted us there. Like we were invited there. And Daryl, the director, was just everyone was just so nice, and so but again, it's just crazy. You put your suit on, you walk out onto the stage, you do your notes, you sat there. I mean, it's basically how I imagine doing a late night. It's probably more meticulously planned and outlined than possibly even one of those late night American, what do they call it, late night shows. So I go back to the room and I'm playing the jokes over and over. You actually offered a teleprompter if you want one, which of course makes sense for I guess someone who's hosting and they're doing like a new original script. These are like three of my oldest jokes. They're three of the jokes that I know best. I'm booking it. Get back to the venue. Dressed. You're watching what will happen on the screens backstage. There's literally I'm not joking. There are 40 to 50 people working, like running around in the backstage of this beautiful Burton Cummings theatre. Eventually, it's my time. The host, as I say, is Dave Mahedge, and of course, it's all there's so much excitement going because, of course, while you're there, all the comedians are coming in for the next gala. So then my good friends like Sean Majumdar, Matt Wright are coming in, Adrian Fish. I mean, it was just we're all just having a well of a time, but also I'm trying to focus. Anyway, so go out and it just clicked. It landed as well, if not better than it ever has. Somehow I was also coming up with things that jokes that I've done a million times where I'm talking about a house being 2 doors down in England. And I sometimes will say, I don't mean Canadian 2 doors down, I mean 2 doors down, like where that mic stand is. I will often point to a mic stand. And for whatever reason, I was so comfortable. And I could sit, obviously the lights are bright because it's TV, even though it's a live stand-up. And so I can see the face of every audience member so clearly. But I was having so much fun that I just felt, I don't know, I improvised this thing where I took 2 steps to indicate the 2 doors down, and it just popped. Massive laugh. I mean, I couldn't have been happier. And this doesn't happen often in life. We just get to walk off and go, that landed exactly as I would want it to. I'm not the guy that's normally walking around backstage getting pats on the back, normally because there's no one else backstage. Yeah, couldn't have gone better. So after the gala, went back and I knew I was headlining Rumours Comedy Club the following night. So I was keen to check out the venue. Also, I'd never met Hisham, who I was doing debaters with on Sunday, and I knew that he was playing there. So anyway, I leave the gala, then I realize I've left my clothes there. I go back there, and then Hisham's just arrived from the airport, and we basically head to Rumours together. Watch Hisham do a phenomenal set. This guy is, if you don't know, check him out. Follow his work. But crucially, go and see him live. Hisham Kalati, and his Instagram is. Let me just get it up because it's well worth watching. Oh, it's Hisham at HISHAMKELATI. He basically in a late show club. And by the way, Rumours Comedy Club, as advertised, it's often talked about as the best comedy club in Canada. Interestingly, it's often featured in a lot of global and indeed American magazines whenever they do the top 5 best comedy clubs in North America. It's like the Comedy Cellar, Gotham, LA Improv, Comedy Store, and Rumours. And now having been there and played there, I can see why. And I mean, Tyler, who runs it, is, just an absolute maestro. Not many people understand, love, and respect comedy, but also understand and know how to do business and do it well and to forge contacts and networks and basically, as a result, here's a club that is packed every night of the week. Elvira Kirk was saying to me backstage at the gala that she did it on Tuesday night and was expecting it to be empty as you would for a Tuesday night club, packed. Friday night, Hisham's show, absolutely packed. But Hisham goes out in front of 300 people in a club, late show, and somehow pulls off what I would describe as like almost like an Edinburgh show / off Broadway or even Broadway itself storytelling show, but with it like imagine like Mike Birbiglia, but with regular punchlines, and someone speaking at normal speed, so it's not kind of 12 jokes in an hour. Not to disparage, but a lot of it was so basically what I'm getting at is Hisham just took us on this incredible journey. And he does a very, very brilliant technique where he says joke number one, but then joke number two. But each joke is essentially a story that lasts about 15, 20 minutes. It's about his life working for a well-known bank, his buddy relationship as a black millennial who is now best friends with a white boomer named Mitch, and I don't want to spoil it all, but it's like a buddy movie, and he weaves and crafts this story that is a 1 hour long narrative, but bang 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 punchlines. Anyway, absolutely phenomenal, and I couldn't believe that a kind of a rowdy looking, comedy club audience on a Friday night went for it. So that was a wonderful way to finish off the evening of my gala set. Saturday morning, got up and went and had breakfast at a fancy breakfast place called OEB with Derek Segar. We haven't caught up in ages. We are going to sure talked about this many times in the podcast before, but Derek and I go back 21 years. We first met and partied together at Just for Laughs in 2005. We have stayed close friends ever since. We've seen each other's kids grow up. We've seen our livers rot. And that afternoon, I went to watch The Debaters, which was hilarious. So fun fact, so this was the 25th anniversary of the Winnipeg Comedy Festival. 20 years ago at the Winnipeg Comedy Festival, the Debaters was created. So the first ever Debaters took place 20 years ago. So this whole week was kind of a celebration of obviously the festival, but also the of the Debaters. Oh, and interestingly, I will say this, 10 years ago today, that's funny that was 20 years ago. 10 years ago today, I played Harbour Station for the first time. April 20, it's April, I know this is coming out tomorrow, but today, I'm recording this, April 28th. It was April 28th, 2016, 2 years after we moved here, that I played Harbour Station as part of a kind of essentially a stunt for the CBC TV show City on Fire, which you can watch on YouTube if you type City on Fire and my name, or it was directed by Hemmings House, and Lachlan O was the director, Steve Foster was the producer, and Greg Hemmings obviously was the executive producer, and then obviously their incredible team there created this very beautiful love letter to St. John, but also essentially I guess it was like about my journey coming here. And through that process, we decided we were going to, originally the show was conceived as like a interview show where I meet people as a newcomer who loves the place. And then we decided to create this, it's just funny how, it kind of does feel like 10 years ago. It actually feels like a different life. It's so weird now that we've been here 12 years and that, yeah. And I think, it's weird that that's 10 years ago today. And now essentially I've kind of just fulfilled this dream of doing the Winnipeg Comedy Festival and getting to film a set for national TV. Anyway, time flies is the least fun conversation point of all. So okay, here's some jokes. Let's mix this up a bit. I did these jokes in my special, but they're not going to be able to go in because they were too topical. So did I say this last week? This would be shit if I said this last week. Email me if I said this last week so I can start keeping proper notes of what I ramble about. Because basically, when I come into this, it's a bit like going on a drinking bender, or I don't know. I guess what I imagine an orgy's like, where just time kind of goes. Well, look, it's 25 minutes. I've just been rambling. I come and sit down here, And I basically go into like this other world where I've no idea what I've said, what has come out of my mouth. Has anyone heard of that drug DMT? Which that's the Irvin Welsh book Dead Man's Trousers is about, and it's supposed to be this drug that it's like a hallucinogenic, but it lasts 10 minutes. You've got to obviously make sure you're in a safe setting, and it lasts 10 minutes and takes you on this wild, life-changing journey that feels like decades, and then suddenly you're back, but apparently it changes you forever. Sounds horrible, actually. When you were young, you could take risks like that. Anyway, so the news last week was that Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith were getting divorced. I mean, it's funny that when news happens and you're like, didn't that already happen? It's like when you kind of hear things like, I don't know, Chubby Checker just died. And you're like, Chubby Checker was alive? And actually, funny enough, I think Chubby Checker is alive. So I'm sorry to the Checkers. If that's the case, but you know what I mean. You often hear like some entertainer has died. You're like, I assumed that was a long time ago. Similarly, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith getting divorced. You're like, I did not in a million years think that they were still clawing on together. Anyway, I wrote 5 jokes which I did film in the special, but they will be kept. Incidentally, I watched the rough footage for the special on the plane yesterday. Absolutely phenomenal. Still can't believe that I did 90 minutes and didn't, which I'm happy about. I hope it wasn't longer, but it's weird. I can't. It literally felt like about 20 minutes to me. Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith are getting divorced. Well, that must have been like a slap in the face. Now, how did I do it? They say Will Smith. Jada Pinkett Smith is going to say she's finally going to divorce Will Smith. Oh, that must have been like a slap in the face. But to be fair to her, bold move on her part. Wow, poor guy, he just seems so jaded, doesn't he? You know what they say? Hair loss. Hair today, gone tomorrow. Let's face it, he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's stuck between fucked it up. Forgive my language, whoops-a-daisy. He's stuck between a rock and a hairpiece. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 jokes that possibly in about 30 seconds. That is that's the Mark Norman discipline of joke writing that I'm so desperate to do more of. Like I love telling stories, and I love weaving and crafting taking you on a narrative journey. But I also want to now and again just be able to go bang, bang, bang with jokes. And I'm trying to be better at it. So all I have to say, but going back to Saturday, so I went to watch the debaters to get a feel for the room. It was in the Mennonite Centre. It's Steve Patterson, Graham Clark, the way that they come out at the beginning, and just the crowd just loves the debaters. It's just amazing when you see these live recordings. I realized that Sunday's taping was my 9th ever debate. And Richard Side was there, who is the creator and founder of the Debaters, who was the first one. He doesn't work with the show anymore, but obviously he's still involved and will always be the creator and founder of it. And I hadn't seen him for years, but it was him who first got me into it, 8-9 years ago, and kind of phone auditioned me. I remember being at Lindsay Vauteur's house working on the magazine, one of the first issues of the mag, and Richard said, "Can you speak?" And I went outside and he started running ideas past me. And I was just kind of firing off jokes and ideas at him. And I realized, quite quickly, this wasn't a chat. This was an audition. So I was just trying to be as sharp as I could be. And that was, when I first did the, that first debate was Rebecca Cohen, which set off the journey of wanting to play there, which culminated in filming the special there last week. Yeah, you banged on about that last week, James. So that night, Saturday night, I'm doing the late show at Rumours, which I am an old man, and so first of all, it's only 2-hour time difference, but the late show starts at 9:45, which means I'm on at 10:15 earliest, which is 12:15 for me. Actually, it felt good. The MC was very good. Lovely Matt Wright was on before me. There was a different vibe in the room that I couldn't put my finger on. At first, I thought it was they were tired. It did transpire that part of this is genius when it comes to filling a room, but it transpired that the event was essentially a fundraiser or a thing they have in Manitoba called a social. Does anyone know? Daphne would know what this is. And Daphne, by the way, thanks for all your help and support and kindness, guiding me on the journey towards Winnipeg. It's a social, and a social is basically when a couple is getting married and they hold essentially a fundraiser for themselves to raise money for the wedding. And about 70% of the room were their friends and family. Now, once I realized that, I was able to play off that and play off the couple and play off the other people. But traditionally, if you were going to do a gig for that many people who all know each other, I would be doing a lot of research on them, about them, wanting to make it special for them specific. Of course, there were other ticket buyers as well, so I had to be careful to balance it. I would say I had a somewhat slow start. I would say for me, in that I like to start a gig, boom, hit the ground running. There being at this social thing, there were some people who just kind of looked like they didn't really want to be there. They were being there to support. They weren't there for a comedy show. They were there to support their friends. But I did 55 minutes, and when I would say about 20 minutes in, I had them. It was never one of these like easy gigs though, where you're cooking, where when you're spinning all the plates, and it's just like building this momentum, and you're kind of riding the wave, and it's just bang, 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 pop, 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 pop. It wasn't like that. I had to work for every laugh. Like I would deliver something with aplomb, big laugh, possibly some applause, back to square one. And those gigs do keep you sharp. And then by the end, I had them. There was a guy I started bantering with who his name I thought was a young looking guy, like 19, 20. And it's funny when you learn something and you think, why didn't I pursue this? But basically his name, I thought he said his name was Michael. It turned out that it was actually Micah. And anyway, I was only after the show that I'm talking to him and his girlfriend, and he sent me a nice message afterwards saying, well, I don't read compliments on this podcast, so I won't tell you what he said, but suffice to say, it was very nice. And his name was Maiko, Maiko, great guy. There with his girlfriend. I'm chatting with him, interacting with him, but I didn't actually notice his accent. And anyway, it turns out he's British, moved here 2 years ago from Croydon, which is where my wife's grandmother was from and near where we used to live. Could have been a great moment during the show. So I'm gutted it didn't kind of play out. Anyway, anyway, so the show went well. Went back to the final night, essentially final night party, which was just, again, it was in like an arcade bar, free sushi. I mean, as I said to many people that night, you've made it when you're eating free sushi. That is basically the dream. I live for free sushi. Had a great chat with Dave Hampstead. Dave Hampstead, who I've known somewhat for years, that we'd met at Hubcap. There's a lot of comedians who I have a lot of mutual friends with. Comedians like Erica Sigurdsson and Dave Hampstead, who we have like so many of crossover friends. They're also comedians that I've obviously been aware of probably for 20 plus years, having watched them on Just for Laughs or Comedy Now and so forth. And I know that both of them very good friends with, well, my close friends, like Steve Badson and Derek Seguin, but we'd never actually got time to spend quality time together. So anyway, had a good old laugh, lots of fun. Walked back with Lara Ray, who again is one of the founders of the festival, an absolute gem, and love Lara. Next morning is the day of the debaters, but went down for have a cup of tea and coffee with Nikki Payne. Nikki wouldn't let me eat any of her cantaloupe or large grapes due to what had happened last Friday night. So I'll tell you now what had happened the previous Friday night, because I weirdly completely forgot. So after the Rebecca Cohen gig, I stayed in the lobby chatting with audience members for as long as anyone wanted to, and it was always my policy. And I will say that right now, right, that I will, any gig, wherever it is, private, corporate, club, theatre, arena, shed, shack, Vineyard, Women's Institute venue, Legion, church, you name it, I will always be the last one to leave. I mean, I guess the only exception would be as if I'm doubling up somewhere and have another show. But if I don't have another show, I am not leaving before the last person wants to chat. The privilege I feel that you all come out to shows means that it's genuinely fun for me. Like nothing makes me happier than just having laughs and fun with people after doing the job that I love most in the world. Anyway, so I get back to the starting place. Grab us a table downstairs in the restaurant that's called Chop Chop. Is it called Chop Chop or just Chop? Chop Chop in England means hurry up. Does that mean that here too? And chop is also a euphemism for the old Bolivian marching powder, the old devil's dandruff, the old gack, bugle, blow, sniff. In England it's called, you got any chop, mate? You got any chop? So, an interesting name for a restaurant because that is not conducive to people enjoying a good meal. But I tell you what else is not conducive to people enjoying a good meal is me with some of you will know after my Elephant Man incident, I had a root canal infection on the right-hand side of my mouth, so that tooth came out, which meant I was chewing too hard on the other side of my mouth, and I eat a lot of peanuts, and if you know this about me, I'm a peanut addict. Actually, I'm a peanut addict. I've been to peanuts. I'm saying peanut, by the way, not I'm not addicted to penis. We all know people who are, and it's unfortunate. And it's upsetting for their families and everyone around them. And unless they're single, in which case it's fine to be a penis addict. But if you're addicted to penis and you are married, either male or female, male or female or gay or straight, no one wants. I mean, you can't be in a relationship and addicted to penis unless you're in an open marriage and you're. But it's not penises, so I don't know why I'm going on about penises. It's a Freudian thing. If Freud was here, he would say that actually I don't like peanuts. Really, I like penises, and I'm only making this distinction. And maybe I only eat peanuts because I like pretend they're very salty, like balls, like. Do I like peanuts because they're like small balls? I don't think that is it. Oh no, I mean by small balls, I mean small adult balls that happen to be small. I wasn't suggesting this has gone down. I mean, that I would say the last minute was probably the most accurate depiction of what's actually going in my head. Most of the not mini ball, not sucking. That's how my brain goes, and that's why I have these extremes where it's like, like I had 5 very, very healthy days, 6 very healthy days last week. I think 6 days basically every day, 200, 300 sit-ups every day, eating healthily, only drinking water, not drinking. And then after my last show on Sunday, after the debaters recording, which was super, super fun. Although obviously, being me, beat myself up a bit afterwards. I workshopped to death the opening and closing, and then I feel like I fumbled up the firing line and the bare knuckle, and wasn't funny enough, and it threw me, and I got annoyed at myself. And this isn't like me, but I guess you could argue it's quite a lot to go from filming a stand-up special to then flying to Canada's biggest Canadian comedy festival, doing one set at Yuk Yuk's, then doing a televised gala, then doing a headline set, then doing debaters. It is a lot, but I feel like I mean, the show will edit perfectly, and they're going to put in the funniest bits. I'm just mad at myself because I think I should have been funnier. How do I get onto it? The point is, going back to previous Friday, I after the Saturn Place gig, I went back. Mandy and Chop. That was what I was saying. I was just trying to say the name of a bloody restaurant. I mean, up down this rabbit hole of cocaine, balls, peanuts. I'm addicted to peanuts. Did I mention that? The doctor once said to me, because I often get, do you ever go into like the MOT where you're like, you just check everything's in order? I'm 48. The last MOT I had, I was like, look, occasionally drinks get drunk, occasionally cigarettes get smoked, and can you do the checks? And they invariably the check is always that my cholesterol is too high from eating too many KP nuts from England or the Superstore PC. Here's a question for you. Does anyone here work for PC or Shoppers Drug Mart / Superstore? Here's a question for you. Your party peanuts are, the consistency is terrible. Whereby, when they're good, they are the best peanuts in the world, bar none. Better than KP in the UK, I can now say. When they're good and they're kind of slightly shiny and slightly kind of wet looking, my mouth's watering, but I'm not allowed to have any peanuts right now. They're really salty. But sometimes you open them up and they're all white and horrible and minging and stale. And there's no, I think I've mastered the art of shaking them and recognizing the sound now, because I've been studying this for some time. But don't tell my doctor, I'm supposed to be off. I am off the nuts. But the nuts that's why I kind of now, I can't really drink right now, but if I drink, I'll have the nuts. It used to be like that with cigarettes, and then in my 20s it was like that with drugs. If I drink, I get on it. Now it's like I can't. The alcohol is a gateway drug to PC's party peanuts, and something worse when you get the box back home and you open it up and it's a bad batch. I need to get in touch with. Okay, so I'm at Chop with Nikki and Mandy, and I'm eating, because that was it. So one tooth's removed. The other, that was how I got it. So eating the peanuts. So I eat too many peanuts on the other side. So my filling on the other side gets, it's sensitive. So there's me, and I guess it's from the adrenaline. This is why one shouldn't drink after shows. And that night I wasn't. I mean, we had a glass of prosecco, but it's because you feel somewhat invincible after a show, which is why really the only sensible thing is to go back to your room, write your diary, say your prayers. This is my version of the Hulk Hogan: eat your vitamins, say your prayers, and shoot up steroids. Was that his slogan? What was it? Say your prayers, eat your vitamins, fuck your daughter's best friend, and was that it? No. Oh yeah. Eat your vitamins, say your prayers, use the N-word, and turn into a MAGA voter. One of them is something like that. I'm of course referring to the Hulk Hogan documentary on Netflix, which is very good, by the way. I do find it fascinating when I'm building up to big shows to watch shows about people that either have achieved greatness or have attempted to. I can't watch other comedy when I'm building up to a show because it's very distracting or depressing, or it influences you, it infringes on your own creative process. So like before the special, I watched the Rory McIlroy documentary about him trying to win the Masters the first time. Spoiler, he just won it a second time. Great documentary, and I love things like that where I do not play golf. I like crazy golf, as you know if you listen to this podcast regularly. And by crazy golf, I mean mini golf, but in England we call it crazy golf because it's crazy. I love documentaries about people who do great things because I'm not interested in golf. I don't play it. I don't watch it. But his just desire and aspirations and dreams and hard work and work ethic and nerves and insecurities and weaknesses, they all apply to all of us and whatever it is we do, whether we aspire to be a comedian or a nail technician or a hairstylist or an opera singer, whatever it is, these things apply. So that's why I find it fascinating watching these kind of. I always try and watch those. Something about someone trying to achieve something that's outside of their wheelhouse, or it's outside of their because I mean, for me, as someone that is completely bonkers and riddled with insecurities, fully diagnosed ADHD, extreme, but completely unmedicated, and dealing with all the voices and the screaming and in the head and the what's my point? It's for me, the fact that I'm able to do stand up is completely ridiculous because I struggle to string a sentence together in social settings often. It's funny, like going to these events at the comedy festival. I felt very shy, insecure. Obviously, back in I guess also because for years it was like I would used alcohol at in social settings, and now when it's professional, when it's a business related or it's comedy related, I don't consume any alcohol at these things. So, although I made up for that on Sunday after the debaters show. Dave Hempstead had a flight to catch. So he came. We basically tried to pack like 20 years of friendship into about an hour. 20 years of not hanging out, having heard about each other from our mutual friends. We packed about 20 years worth of drinking into an hour, which was very fun. And then when he went there, we were joined by all the other greats, Steve Patterson, so many other lovely people, Erica Sigurdsson, everyone else came and joined. It was so much fun, Matt Wright. But having been, on the wagon for a week and living like a monk, that's the name. I want this to be the name of my next book: 95% monk, 5% menace. I was basically in bed by 8 p.m., I would say, and then woke up about 11 or 10:30. Ordered way too much McDonald's. That is not a pretty sight when you wake up the next morning with like a double, you had a headache last night, and then you've also woken up with a headache, and then you got McDonald's in your bed with you. Yeah, I imagine it's like a single person waking up in bed with well, let's not get too graphic. Okay. So my point was, so the debate went well. Hisham was a lot of fun to work with. Yesterday, flew home. It was the last person to leave, but the transport team, Ron and the transport team, and Pete, the lovely driver. By the way, Pete, if there's any chance you're listening to this, I meant to give you my book yesterday. I got out of the car. I had a copy in my bag, written with a note to you, and I completely forgot. I was so tired and stressed, and I don't know, just in my own head. So Pete is friends. Okay, here we go. This is the Ramblers I need your help with. Pete is very good friends with a guy who lives on the Kingston Peninsula, near the Kingston stores or near Kingston Corner. Is that the same thing? Yeah, I think it is. And his friend is a sea shanty singer, and he started the Sea Shanty Festival in St. Martin's. And Pete, who is originally from Halifax but lives in Winnipeg and has lived there for 20, 30 years, often comes to visit his friend who runs the Sea Shanty Festival in St. Martin's but lives on the Kingston Peninsula. Can you, Ramblers, help me identify this person? Thank you very much. Yes, get to St. John, get to Toronto, and as advertised, bump into Helen Reese, Dr. Helen Reese, Helen Kincaid, but Dr. Helen Reese, podiatrist and Brit, and all around one of the loveliest human beings on the planet Earth. And I'd forgotten how we first met until right now. It must be about a decade ago. I read an interview with her in KV Style, used to be a magazine, a local magazine here, newspaper. And there was an interview with Dr. Helen Reese, a British podiatrist who lives here in the Kennebec Cases Valley, and she was asked, who would you invite to your dream dinner party, alive or dead? And I don't know who her other choices were, but one of her choices was James Mullinger. That's me, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. And so I made it a nice mission to meet her, and I believe I first, correct me if I'm wrong, Helen, if you happen to be listening to this, but did we first meet at the Dunham's Run, Kingston Peninsula, at an Ethan Ash show? And if so, did I meet your mum that time, or was it another time? Anyway, I met both your mum and dad. Helen has just run the London Marathon, which is no mean feat. Like, that is a big deal. She also went with her lovely friend who she introduced me to. So we're there at the gate. We are having a blast talking about the marathon and being back in England and the differences between England and here. Then Maestro Fresh West arrives. So suddenly now it's a St. John flight. My goodness, it's like Dr. Helen Reese, Maestro Fresh West. That's that. So we're there, and then who came up next were basically I keep bumping into people. I keep bumping into people throughout the airport, day in, not day in, day out. But that was it. Susan and Peter came up. So Susan and Peter just come back from Nice. I had seen them at a show a few weeks before. It was what was it? The one they came to? They came to Susan and Peter came to Long Bay a few weeks ago, and their son came to see me in Halifax, and they famously, Susan, last January when I was doing warm up, when I was doing those improvised shows at the BMO, at the St John Theatre Company's BMO Theatre, Susan had written down something about paper tickets versus digital tickets because she'd lost her digital tickets. Anyway, it was one of those magical moments where quite a random thing becomes an absolute highlight of, I would say, and of the 6 hours of improv I did that week, or 5 hours of improv I did that week, that moment was one of the best and funniest moments, and we kept coming back to it. And anyway, Susan Peter, an absolute delight. And it was just so much fun, all of us kind of joking and laughing at the airport. And quite weird, if I can say this, that it says everything about why I love where I live and why I'm not a massive. I know you might look at my schedule and think it looks busy, but I am quite careful about not doing too many things. I had an offer recently to go and play one of the best clubs in the country in one of the best cities in the country, and it's a weekend that has been allocated for family time. So you know what, I'm 48 years old. I'm not 25 anymore. I guess the difference is also maybe in 5 to 10 years when the kids have gone off to university or moved out, that's when I'll hit the road hard. Although if you look at my tour poster, it does look quite insane. What I've got coming up: Kensington, Charlottetown, Woody Point, Vancouver Island, Ladysmith, Victoria, BC, Woodstock, Tatamagouche, Campbellton, 3 shows, Moncton, Calgary, 3 shows, Fredericton, Chester, 4 shows in the Okanagan. So I think we're doing Lake Country, Summerland, Kamloops, and there'll be one other, and then Oliver. That's it. And then ending all in St John, and then obviously that's the point. I'm hot fitting it to Bathurst. Basically, by the time you're listening to this, if you listen to it on Wednesday, I'll be on my way to Bathurst. So I got a bit distracted there, didn't I? I guess my point is that one of the highlights of my week was hanging at the airport with Helen and Wes and Susan and Peter, and just basically having laughs. And then I got on the plane and was sat next to a lovely couple who had also been to a show to see me recently and were pleased to see me, which was nice. I guess that's it. One of the I meant to say last week, thank you so much. A couple of thank yous. Massive thanks to Adam Blanchard, who I think I started to say this and forgot. He very kindly, after opening for me at some shows, he bought me a gift which he'd found in a collector's shop in Miramichi, and it was an original vintage Ganong chocolate box. Knowing how much I love Ganong, I thought that was a very, very beautiful, beautiful gift. I was in the UNB archives recently, seeing all of the amazing Ganong archives. It's about time someone wrote another. I know there's been books about the history of the Ganong family and Ganong chocolatier, but it's about time someone did an updated one. I say. There's a VHS video that I found at a yard sale years ago called "The Gift of River" that is about the St. John River, that I just converted to digital and put onto my YouTube channel. I posted it on Facebook. I think if you have any interest in this area and the beautiful rivers, you would appreciate it. I also want to say big thanks to Heidi and Kat. Heidi White and her gorgeous girlfriend Kat kindly came all the way from St. John, along with watching the footage back from Halifax. It's crazy. I would say about a third of the room was from New Brunswick, which is absolutely insane. Heidi and Kat came, and they came with Kat's family, who are all from Eastern Passage, the Passage. I should give a hats off once again to Chris Kingston and his team at Soul Cinematic. Again, you're going to read all about them in the fall issue of the Multimedia. And it was interesting. It was Chris's kind of advice that what I should do with the Halifax show is take all the best of my new stuff, but blend it with the best of my old stuff and update it and basically do the Seinfeld advice thing of creating the best possible show that feels new but also has stuff that lands. Essentially, this new special, my plan for it is for it to be the one that kind of ties everything up. And basically, if I say to people, watch one special, this is the one. Right? That's kind of the goal with it. I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna let you all go. Thank you all so much for listening. Sorry if this wasn't very interesting this week. It was amazing. I got in at midnight last night. Obviously knackered, wiped, and still managed to get up this morning and go to the YMCA. Did my 20 lengths. If you can believe it, I did 500 calories on the ski machine, which I kind of needed to do after that bedtime McDonald's orgy. And now I'm feeling pretty good anyway. I've got to run and get River from school, and then tomorrow morning go and pick up the rental car and hot-footed to Bathurst. We have a very exciting gig actually in Bathurst for some very lovely people. I will tell you all about that next week. And then following week, keynote in Fredericton. Also interviewing my hero, Lloyd Kaufman, again for an article for the Dark Side Horror magazine. We are uploading volume 37 of the Maritime Edit magazine this next Friday, actually. For once, I don't want to jinx it. We're actually somewhat ahead. And I have a meeting on Friday with, there is an amazing collective of comedians. Well, you know this in Americans, but there's one particular comedian, Taylor Scove Nielsen, is someone that I've heard so many wonderful things about. We hadn't met in person. She's very good friends with my friend Catherine Cairns. They've done lots of shows together. Taylor is, and I knew that she'd done lots of shows with Nikki Payne. I see the artwork for her shows. I hear great things from the venues where I do shows. She also does shows. And they always tell me that not only is she hilarious, but also brilliant to work with, sells out these venues. She's created a thing called the Annex Collective in Sackville that looks and sounds very exciting. Workshops, artist talks, creative. I'm speaking to Taylor on Friday. I will learn more about it and I will report back. But I have to say, I highly recommend checking out Taylor Scove Nielsen's jokes or not jokes, sorry, yes, they're jokes, but her shows. They are, by all accounts, absolutely phenomenal. So my Mother's Day is coming up. So next week, let's make this a celebration of mothers. Email me all your questions, jamesmullinger@gmail.com. It's my personal email. So just email me the questions. And please, if you enjoy the podcast and you want it to continue, I don't want to beg, but it really does help if you share this, or if you go onto Apple Podcasts and Spotify and just leave a review. Just log in, leave a review. 5 stars, 4 stars, even if it's 3 stars, even if it's 2 stars, saying Mullinger's a dick, whatever. It really helps. But I'll never ask you for money. I'll never charge a subscription fee, and I will never promote goods or products or read ads that could be harmful to your health. But I do ask that you share this and encourage other people to listen, because the only way we can keep doing it is if we get the numbers up. That's just the reality of the business. Thank you very much for listening. I've been James Mullinger. You've been you. It's been a joy to be so immersed and ensconced and embraced by your inner earlobes. And I sincerely hope I get to be deep inside you again very soon. We didn't get to the assassination, but we all know what we think. And we all hate the fact that we think it, because it makes us sound completely insane, like it makes us sound like them. Weird, isn't it, that they've made us into them? All the crap that they used to talk about, botched elections or fake, stolen elections and fake assassinations and all the bullshit they used to spout, pedophiles running the world, and now we all believe that because it's unfortunately true. I mean, it's the greatest double bluff they pulled of all time. Say a load of outlandish, ridiculous stuff so that we all go, that's ridiculous, but meanwhile, that's what they've actually been doing, and now we all feel a bit silly and massively depressed. So come to a comedy show. I'll make you laugh. Love you. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Fundraiser's weekly ramble.